People, good evening. Good evening. Thank you for coming in to Facts Over Feelings. We are just glad to have you also come on in and make sure that you share our page and fun stuff. I'm going to get in trouble right now because my phone is going off. There it goes. All right. We're good to go now. So again, welcome everyone. As promised, we do have a special guest in house, and I'm going to give her a moment to introduce herself. But I just want to introduce myself again. Dorian here with you guys, and I have my co-host, Mr. Jordan Roman.
Good evening, everybody.
Also running for what?
State Assembly, District 12, northwest side of Milwaukee.
Yeah,
it's going.
Campaign is in full mode, right?
It's in full effect right now. Actually, I just got out of a strategy meeting with our kitchen cabinet team today, talking about how we're going to roll out some of the endorsements that we're receiving, and then how we're going to create the contrast between me and the incumbent. So it's good, robust conversation. So
there you go. You go. That's
big time now.
Man, I just laugh at that because from where I started this podcast and where it's gone to now, like we have gubernatorial candidates coming in and candidates for other kind of offices and local elected officials. It's like, wow, I never could imagine it would be like this, but hey, here we are. Right?
Here we are.
Yeah. Hey, right. Yeah. So tonight, as promised, we do have our Lieutenant Governor Sara Rodriguez in here with us. Thank you. She told me I can. Let's give her. She told me I can call her Sarah, but I told her I just wasn't raised that way. So you may guys hear me say Madam Lieutenant Governor a whole bunch of times, but she said LG is fine. So I think I'm gonna settle with LG. Is that cool?
I think that's good.
LG is cool. So we're gonna go with LG tonight. So LG, thank you for coming on.
Oh, thank you guys for having me. I really do appreciate it.
Oh, that's just awesome.
Great.
This is awesome. I just feel wonderful right now.
So
that I have all these important people wanting to give me some time. So
well, I think it's important to get the message out, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of Democratic candidates in the governor's race, and we want to be talking to everybody, talking about our values, what we want to do when we're governor. And I think it's important to go everywhere and anywhere to make sure we can get those messages out.
Yeah, definitely. And from what I was told, our message is getting out from our platform here. Like, lots of people know about us. I didn't even know it's on YouTube. People are catching us everywhere. I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. And people are asking us about, voting and who should we really vote for? And what's your opinion? And I'm like, oh, wow. I feel honored that people look at us that way. So again, glad to have you on. I said earlier, we're not going to be asking any gotcha questions, anything like that. We just want you to get to know the people and people to get to know you as we're approaching this election season. So we're going to start off with something really light and fluffy. So tell us about yourself, LG.
It's like an interview question, right? Like the first interview question you get for a job. So I am a mom of two teenagers, 17 and 19. So prayers and blessings are welcome.
Yes.
Sorry, how old?
17 and 19.
Woo! Yeah. Okay.
I know. The 19-year-old, he's a freshman in college. 17-year-old, she's a junior in high school.
Okay.
He has always known what he wants to do for his career. I think he saved every nickel we've ever given him. So he's an accounting major.
Explain
it. Yes. And then my daughter, she is my wild child. She thinks of a million things she wants to do, but she's my artist and she's brilliant. And so my whole goal is to make sure that we have her shadow every single job she's ever talked about maybe being interested in. That's my goal for the next year and a half for her.
So how do you, sounds like you have a right brain and a left brain in the house. And so how do you do that? And then a male and a female, obviously, and then the different juxtaposition there. So how do you deal with that on a personal level, especially running a campaign like that?
Yeah, it's really funny. So teenagers will keep you humble. So my son didn't even tell his roommate in college who I was.
That's funny.
And my daughter, 17, she doesn't think I'm the sharpest tool in the shed, just in general. I mean, that's what parents are, right? I just think it's good, but it's fun. I live in Waukesha County. I'm a nurse by background. I've done everything from night shifts in the emergency department to running big public health programs. And that's, what I thought I was going to do for my career. I thought I was going to give back a little bit in that way, just within public health and within nursing. And that really, I got more involved in politics in 2016 when we first had Trump come on the ballot.
Boy.
Yeah, it was rough. So my husband, he's an immigrant from Mexico. He's a naturalized citizen.
Really?
Yeah. And
oh, thank you for told us that.
Yes.
Yes.
And my son, he went to he was like 8 years old at the time, and he was going to a dual language school for Spanish and English.
Which in Madison?
No, Waukesha.
Waukesha.
Yeah, Waukesha. Yeah.
Okay.
And he was hearing stuff at school, and he was really worried that Trump was going to deport his dad.
Yeah.
Horrible.
And he felt like, that Trump didn't like people who look like him. And it just broke my heart that his words got into, my child's head. And then when he won, I realized I had not done enough. I had relied on other people to advocate for families like mine.
Yeah.
So that's when I decided to get more involved. I started volunteering with the Democratic Party. I was like, put me to work. I will do anything. I will knock doors. I will make phone calls, whatever you need. Let me put this anger and frustration somewhere. And that's what I did for a couple of years. And then I left my job and decided to run for assembly, just like you're doing in 2020. And it was District 13 in the assembly. And remember, I live in Waukesha County, not exactly a bastion of liberalism, right?
No, not at all.
And so I was able to win that district. I was able to flip that district from red to blue with a 4-term Republican incumbent.
Wow.
Yeah. And it was really great to be in the assembly, trying to bring that healthcare perspective. And then decided to step up again when Governor Evers needed a partner to run again in 2022, because we had to keep our goalie in that governor's seat. Yeah, it's been really great to be able to work with him and watch his leadership. I've just learned a lot from him, and having to deal with a hostile legislature, which we are not going to have in 2026.
We plan not to. Yeah, we hope to have a trifecta.
Yeah, we need it.
Yes.
So before that, 13, was that, were you before Robin Vining? Was that the seat?
So I came
after Robin.
Robin Vining flipped her seat, and then I flipped my seat the next cycle.
But it was the same seat though?
No, different seat.
Different seat. Okay.
Yeah. Different seats. Yeah, but close. They were similar seats, similar area, Waukesha and some like Wauwatosa, Milwaukee County.
Gotcha.
Now, it's funny you mentioned Governor Evers. When he first ran, I was like, okay, he's a school teacher. How is he going to come into this role and be, the person that we're going to need to be our voice, especially because I knew he was coming into hostile territory.
Yeah.
Because before he even got in office, the legislature had passed all these different amendments and bills to take power away from him. I'm like, oh my God, come on. But then to watch him evolve into the high school principal to this.
Absolutely. That's exactly what he is.
Now I'm like, just to see it, it was like, wow, he just totally blew my mind just to see.
He's done a great job.
Yeah, I think he's done a tremendous. People don't give him enough credit, but I think he's done a tremendous job for the state.
He has.
Stacked with, again, this hostile legislator that we have that their only goal was to just try to make him look bad, and that was it. They had no economic plans for the state or anything else. It was just oppose everything the Democrats do, and then that's it.
That's it.
And I think that shows too. We have an educator. And we have, especially with you now, the lieutenant governor, we have a nurse. So we have public workers who understand the working families, what they need, and understand, can relate to the issues that our families are facing. And I think that the county or the state then at the time when you guys came in, it's at 2020, right? Looking for people who are going to fight on behalf of them and not get into all the political back and forth, and just have regular people who are representing regular things every day. And I think that has shown. So my question is around, what has that partnership been like with Governor Evers? I think just really quickly, can you just explain what the role of the lieutenant governor is for our bills? Because a lot of people don't know. Right. I'll be honest,
I know.
Yeah.
So lieutenant governor, of course, it's like the vice president for the state, right? So if something happens to the governor, you are ready to fill in those shoes. And that is actually the only constitutional responsibility of the office. Other states have different constitutional responsibilities. This is what they've done for the state of Wisconsin. So it really is what you make of it. And so I've been able to work with Governor Evers on several different areas. One of them, I'm the chair of the Interagency Council on Homelessness. So being able to work on housing across the state. I was the chair of the healthcare workforce task force because we know we're going to be short tons of nurses, tons of nursing assistants, medical assistants. I been working with a funder coming out from the East Coast to come in to be able to work with some of our universities to have veterans become nurses, using some of their expertise to do that. So really trying to go all across the state to talk to people and bring that information back to the administration to say, hey, here are some of the things that people are worried about. Here's what they're talking about with us. And I'm doing all of that constituent work. So people would reach out to me and say, hey, I'm struggling with X with this particular group. Can you help me out? And so trying to connect them to the right people. That's oftentimes what I would do within my office.
Okay. Nice. And then you kind of work and a lot of your workload is kind of given from the governor's team too. Like, hey, we need you to work on A, B, and C. Or we want you messaging on this, or here's some of the things that are coming down the pike, and here's the budget. Do you have any thoughts on these, particular issues? How can we, modify this or do this, or what do you think? Especially with my healthcare background, that I think has been a real asset, because I could probably talk about healthcare policy till your ears fall off. I won't. But he's the policy wonk.
I love it. I love policy conversation.
I'll bore everyone else in tears. But
I'll be like, where's my notebook?
I know.
His ears just popped up when you said
I love
that.
it.
That's cool. And I'm so glad that we have you on too, so that people can understand how our government works, especially locally, because people just really don't know and understand how things work here. So again, I'm glad you were able to give that explanation, because you hear the term and okay, I think that's the assistant governor or something that.
Right.
People that just are not invested. So let's go into your campaign. So we have 7 or 8 other candidates running.
12.
So there's just a lot.
I've lost count. I tried to keep up count. Yeah, right.
9
so
or 10.
what would you say, LG? What would you say would distinguish you from all of the candidates? Why would someone want to vote?
So I appreciate that question. And I think philosophically, many of the candidates, these are all good people. These are all good friends. And every single one of them would be better than Tom Tiffany, honestly.
Oh, yeah.
Honestly. Yeah. And many of us are philosophically aligned in what we want to do. We want to make sure that we can affect everyday Wisconsinites' pocketbooks. We want to make sure that all families can thrive in the state. So you really have to look at who has the best chance of winning in November. And I think I bring a couple of unique things to the table with that. Number one, I am a nurse, which is a well-trusted profession. By the way, politicians are not. So I figure if you put those two things together, maybe you get 50% trust, right? And I do think it's going to be a healthcare election. I think healthcare is going to be something we're going to be talking about. Number one, and I'm not a lifelong politician. I spent the vast majority, almost 30 years in healthcare, and have just kind of recently started my political journey. And I think that's valuable to have that perspective of working night shift, but also being a leader in other types of programs. I'm the only one in the primary field who's been able to flip a district and win in a difficult race against a Republican. And we are the swingiest of swing states.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. We are purple.
Yep. We are purple.
Geez. Yeah.
We are purple. And so I think that those are the things that I can also take what I've learned from Governor Evers and just add to that. So being lieutenant governor, watching how these things work, he's done a really amazing job. Now we have to bring it one step further. Yes. And we have got to get an agenda across the finish line. So you want somebody who's going to be ready day one to be able to do that. I have the most endorsements of sitting legislators today within the Assembly and the Senate, which is built on trust. And if you want to be able to get an agenda across the finish line, they are an independent body, right? The Senate and the Assembly, you have to negotiate. You're going to have those relationships to try to get things across the table. I've also gotten endorsements in all 72 counties. And that's how I think I'm going to win in November. Wow. Yeah. Okay. Because we have to be a governor for the entire state. Yes. And my strategy to win is to go to every county, no matter how small, no matter how red, and show up. And I think we have ceded ground, particularly in rural spaces, for too long. We have allowed Republicans to define who Democrats are. And they define us in absolutely radical ways. And it's not what I see on a regular basis. So making sure we're showing up in those spaces to tell them we're going to be a governor for all is what I'm going to be doing. I also received the endorsement of AFSCME, which are the state workers and the municipal workers. And it's kind of like they're choosing their boss, right? And they had a whole lot of Democrats to choose from. And I was just really proud to be able to earn that endorsement, that they trust me to make the changes that they want to see in state government, to put workers first.
Okay. I love that answer. So speaking, I know you said earlier, you think that this election is going to be on healthcare. I tend to think it's going to be a mixture of healthcare and the
Yeah,
I think the economy is going to take. I think they're going to be
both,
like,
and they're related.
It's so
Yeah.
expensive.
It's going to be like
Healthcare's
right
insane.
here.
Yeah.
So what would be your economic plan you could be comfortable with laying out for us for Wisconsin in particular? I'm going to just take it local for Milwaukee, because as people know or don't know, Milwaukee gives a lot of percentage of its revenue to the state, and our city funds a lot of different counties and things like that. So what is your plan would be for the biggest city in this state to make sure that Milwaukee is still humming economically, so that we can continue to do what we do for the entire state?
Milwaukee is the economic engine of the state. It truly is. And so we have to treat it like it's the economic engine of the state. A couple of things that I would want to make sure that we're addressing is property taxes are too high in Wisconsin. I don't know if you guys own a home or anything else,
it's ridiculous.
I opened my property tax bill, I almost fell off the floor. And so we are top 10 in the country. And the reason why our property taxes are too high is because of two things. The Republicans have disinvested in our public schools, and so they're not fully funding our public schools, and they have not given the municipalities and the cities the dollars that they need to provide basic services. We're talking about EMS, fire, your park systems. Like Milwaukee had pools that closed last summer because they didn't have the dollars to keep them open. These are the kind of things that make cities where you want to live in, where you want to raise your family in. And so my goal on that is to make sure that we can lower property taxes by fully funding our public schools and changing the formula for how we give money back to the city. And that specifically will help Milwaukee to be able to provide the services that they know that they want to do. But also across the state, even rural communities are struggling to be able to provide those basic services. So pushing those dollars down to at the most local level that we can, I think that's going to have one of the biggest differences within the state to be able to really work on that economic engine. And we've got to be, this is my goal as governor, is to make Wisconsin the place where young families want to live and when young families want to raise their kids. Yeah. So another area, I don't know, that I've talked about before is childcare. So if you can find it, by the way, it costs more than your rent or your mortgage. Now, and I told you, my kids are old now, but I don't remember it. It was expensive for sure, but I don't remember it being such a huge issue.
It wasn't. I have a 16 and a 22-year-old.
It wasn't.
It really wasn't.
It wasn't. And there were options. Yes. I just feel like there were options, and it just feels like the options have narrowed. So the federal government actually says, and you're going to laugh about this, that for it to be affordable for a family, that childcare should cost no more than 7% of your income.
Yeah, right.
So for average costs within Wisconsin, this is just average, and our cities cost more, right? A family would have to be making $185,000 a year to afford one child.
Wow. People are not making that.
Wow.
No, people are not.
Nobody's making that amount of money.
I think what's the average income across the state? About 56,000 or something? 50,000? Yeah,
you're about right. I think it's about $56,000. So that's my plan. Let's make it no more than 7% of a family's income, all the way to families making $500,000 a year. Yeah. Because that's about the cutoff for 2 kids in childcare. Wow. So let's make this almost universal. We'll leave our millionaires alone. They can probably manage themselves, but let's make this something that families can actually afford. And not only that, but we have got to make sure that our childcare providers are being paid a minimum of $18 an hour. So my plan also includes that, is to make sure that those childcare providers are paid at the very, very lowest, because they are so important to child development, and we are paying them poverty wages, and people are not going into the profession, and we know it's such a big deal for folks. So those are a couple of things. I've got other plans on housing, school funding, making sure that we restore union bargaining rights within the state. We know that lifts wages for everybody, union and non-union. And so if we can get back to those collective bargaining agreements, those labor agreements, I think that's going to make a real difference.
So it's safe to assume you're not a fan of Act 10.
No, I'm not a fan of Act 10. No, we can reverse Act 10, but we need to go even further, right? We need to go even further to make sure that workers have real power and that they're being paid what they're worth, that we're not just going to the lowest bidder, that we have prevailing wage within the state, which basically says that, you can't, bill this out to the lowest builder. You have to meet the standards of the state of Wisconsin. So I think that's important to be able to do that, and so that people truly do get paid what they're worth.
I'm glad you said that. I don't drink kind of question, but I have to add this in because my coworkers will probably kill me. They said, "Dude, you had the lieutenant governor. You didn't ask her." I work for the Department of Corrections.
Oh yeah.
And so there's a lot of us that watch and look at things and kind of watching. Okay, who's in charge and who does this? What would be your plan to enhance the viability of working for state government?
Yeah. So we can get those agreements back, right? So we can have those labor agreements back. Because I have the endorsement of AFSCME, I have committed that we are going to be meeting regularly and talking about what's going on within all of the different state agencies. And if there are state agencies that have consistent issues, either violations of labor or there are complaints that are not being addressed, having an independent ombudsman who employees can go to be able to make sure that those disagreements or those complaints are addressed. We know that there have been problems, particularly within Department of Corrections, where people have raised the red flag and said, this is unsafe. And we've had people who have sadly been killed on the job within Department of Corrections. And that it was foreseeable. It was foreseeable that was going to happen. And we need to make sure that we are talking directly to the folks on the ground, because they know best how to make sure to keep workers safe and to keep the folks who are incarcerated safe. So making sure that we're directly speaking to them, that we have those type of management and labor councils at every single every single division, whether it's every single Department of Corrections, DHS, Department of Workforce Development, each one of them is going to have a labor council where they're dealing with some of these things. And it's going to be a requirement.
And then that labor council will also look at, because the biggest thing too is wages.
Wages.
Wages. I was a probation parole agent before I started working in our regional office as an administrator. And a lot of times we hadn't gotten raises. Folks had been on the job 10, 15 years, hadn't gotten raises in 10 or 15 years. Like what would you say would be your plan to kind of address those kinds?
We need to have market wages. And I'm really proud of the Evers Rodriguez administration. The Department of Corrections did get raises in this last administration, which I thought was great. We were able to raise wages.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So I'm proud of that, but it's not enough, right? We need to make sure that that these are market wages. So if we even look, so I'm a nurse by background, we look at what we pay nurses within even Department of Corrections or DHS or any place else. They are making so much less than they could make anywhere else. And so we shouldn't expect people to do this job out of the goodness of their hearts, which many of them do. We should pay them what they're worth for the skill set that they bring to the table. So doing a complete overhaul and look at all of the different job classifications that we have to see if it's if we are at market wages, and then have a plan to get there. Might not be able to be right away, but over the 8 years that I'm governor, let's get a plan to make sure that everybody's.
You said she did that?
She slid that in
without a blink. She just said
she did not flinch one bit. I caught that.
Touche.
I caught that. Yeah, that was smooth.
But they have to have living wages. You know? I mean, people need to be able to support their families, and we need to pay people what they're worth. And people come with exceptional skill sets, and I'm always impressed with everybody who I meet who works for state government. And they're oftentimes doing this because they do want to serve. They want to serve their community. They're doing it for that purpose. It doesn't mean we pay them less because of that. We should pay them what they're worth.
And honestly, a lot of my comrades, and we're all like-minded. We do the job because we love to help people when things change. and as a probation officer, that's the best way to do that. And there's no greater feeling than meeting with a client or when they're about to discharge and they tell you you've helped.
Yeah.
You've changed my life. Or you see them after they've discharged out in the community and they come up and hug me all the time. Like, dude, man, I just miss you. Thank you for everything you've done.
Yeah.
And I always tell them, I'm just doing my job.
Yeah.
There are a lot of folks that just come because we love the work.
And I would say, our incarcerated population is a missing talent pool.
Oh, yes.
Like we need to do more. So there's a couple of things that, and you know this better than I do, predict people coming back into jail. And one of them is not having a good paying job when they get out. And so it's really, we've got to do some reform, criminal justice reform. Like it's really easy to violate your parole in the state of Wisconsin.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Very
super easy.
Super easy.
And it makes no sense that we're taking somebody who is actually employed, but maybe did a technical violation. And now we're going to stick them back. When they're contributing to society. It doesn't make any sense to me. And so we've got to look holistically at that. What's in the best interest of the individual? What's in the best interest of the community and safety? And it is wildly expensive to incarcerate people. Particularly, it's super expensive.
Yes.
So could we not be using those dollars for school? Could we not be using those dollars for healthcare? And if you want to talk about public safety, one of the biggest predictors of incarceration are third grade literacy rates. So let's do, like, I'm an old public health nurse, right? Let's fix the bridge before it falls down. Let's do prevention. So let's raise our literacy rates. Let's focus on education. And then we will have an entire generation of children, who can thrive and succeed.
Yeah. Okay. Do you support the pardons?
The
Pardons.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Absolutely. And I think Governor Evers has just recently, with the commutation process too, he's been able to put that back into place. And so
something that hadn't been happening.
No, at
for
all.
8 years, nothing.
No,
nothing.
not at all.
I think Governor Evers is over 160, I think now. I believe is the number.
He's expanded it even more now for the commutation process and pardons. I think there's room for that. There's room for forgiveness and grace for individuals who have served their time.
Glad you said that. Jordan, what you got?
Yeah, so I wanted to go back to sort of the economy, but you kind of addressed it too. So you have a lot of big ideas, and we figured out a way that we could finance a lot of these things. So what are some of the strategies you're looking at to increased revenues for the state across the board? And I'm always looking regionally around what other states are doing. And so what are some of your ideas around how do we increase the funds that are coming into the state?
So I think there's a couple of things that we can do. I'm a proponent of legalizing and regulating marijuana. Governor Pritzker thanks me every time he sees me.
Because
give your money to his tax
billions
of dollars. So I think, and I'm a nurse, I want to be clear, it's not harm-free, right? And so, but if we can make sure it's safe, if we regulate it appropriately, we make sure that people aren't, driving under the influence. But we've had, Colorado's done this for over 10 years. We can learn from their mistakes. We don't have to reinvent the wheel here. And we can use some of that additional revenue to be able to fund some of the programs that we're doing. We also have a surplus in the state. And one of the things that I would like to be able to do is when we're thinking about how do we make an economic difference in people's lives right away, we can pre-fund the child care fund so that we can make that difference for families right away, so they can have some of that economic relief, that they're not as worried about, how much they're paying out of pocket. And can you imagine if you, somehow got an extra like $1,500 in your pocket every month? Vacation.
Yeah, pay some bills.
Pay some bills. Pay your car off. Do something, like live more comfortably. And I think that lifts everybody economically to be able to do that. Yeah. But we're going to have to be creative in terms of revenue coming in. There might be some public-private partnerships that we have to do.
Yes.
There are, all the federal cuts that are coming from the federal government with our taxation system that we have right now, to backfill that only with what we've got right now is an impossibility. It just is. And we have to be honest with voters about that. So we're going to have to look at our taxation system. Do we need additional brackets for really high income earners? And, you already heard me say that, $500,000 a year is what you need to make to have 2 kids in childcare. I'm talking about really high income earners, right? In the state of Wisconsin, really, really super high. Making sure they pay their fair share and making sure that if we have tax benefits that go to corporations, that it truly has an impact at the end of the day with job growth and economic development within the state. So if we're saying, hey, we're going to give you a tax break here, there has to be a result at the end of it, right? You have to have more jobs. You have to have more things that are happening in the state. So we're going to have to look holistically at the whole thing.
I got one more. So thank you for that answer. So we have issues in Milwaukee that are different from across the state. We have a population with increased poverty and whatnot. So one of the things in my campaign we talk about is how do we stabilize? And I know you looked at how do we fund education from a proactive approach, but how do we do both? And what are your thoughts around how do we stabilize the crisis that we're in right now at the same time investing in the future of our education and our students?
Yeah. So right now, and I know you probably know this, we have one of the lowest literacy rates for Black and brown kids in the nation. And so we are failing our kids. We are failing our children in Wisconsin. So we have to do both. We have to invest in the school system, provide dollars. It's not just about dollars, though. It's about looking and making sure we've got innovative models that are meeting our kids' needs. And then we do have the voucher program, which a huge percentage of kids in Milwaukee are taking advantage of. If we would cut that off tomorrow, that's not good for the child. It's not good for the family, and it's not good for the community. Milwaukee Public Schools could not absorb them. Right? They just could not. So we're going to have to look at the voucher system and bring it back to what it was meant to be in the first place, which is low income kids having the same option that the wealthier neighbors have. It was never meant to be all across the state. It was really meant to be focused on lower income communities to make sure that kids have an advantage to be able to go to some of these schools that they may be able to get a different education. And I feel for parents. Like I told you, I've got the 19-year-old son, right? He did really well in high school. He did all the AP classes. He was really good in those big, classrooms. He's doing well in college right now. My daughter's on her 3rd high school.
Okay.
So
same parent.
That girl.
Love her. Right? She's smart.
It's different.
But she needed a different approach.
Yeah.
So she felt she wasn't the worst kid in class. She wasn't the best kid in class. And so she fell right through the cracks in that big school. And she never spoke. She never spoke in class. This is the feedback that I would get from her teacher. She would never talk.
Oh, wow.
And now she's in a much smaller environment. And I had to go back last month because she's talking a little too much in class. So I think she's in the right spot.
Yeah. She's like, well, you wanted me to talk.
I know. So she's in the right spot. So I really feel for parents who are just trying to do what's best for their kids and give them a leg up on to be successful. So I think when we talk about the voucher program, we need to also acknowledge that it has done good things for some of the folks in the community, and we don't want to take the rug out of families, you know, when it's doing something good for their kids.
So I appreciate that answer because that is a well-crafted answer in response to that. And I credit you for the courage you had in toying that line because I'm finding myself in the same position where, and I'm looking at the Black community specifically, the constituents that I'm going to represent. Our families are telling me I can't afford for MPS to wait the 4 or 5 years for them to get better. I have no other option but to take advantage of the voucher system. So in our politics now, some of our politicians gloss over that fact. And I just want to say that that's the first time I've heard it from at least the gubernatorial candidates, that nuanced approach to it, which is necessary. And I think that our constituents needs to hear that piece of it versus, oh, we're anti-vouchers because of X, Y, Z. It's, you said it correctly. We cannot just dismantle it right away because so many people are going to fall through the cracks. So I appreciate that.
No, I firmly believe that. And I want to make sure that families are supported, but we can do both at the same time. We can. And and I am in favor of modifications to the voucher program. I am. And so I've got a plan to be able to modify it, to change it, to make it be back to what its original intent was. But dismantling it is, I think, is cruel to families when their kids are doing well in the environment that they're in, and maybe their homeschool is not a place where their kid's going to succeed.
While we're on the kid situation here in the state, just recently, I know Governor Evers worked. I commend this man every day. He worked with the state legislator on some kind of amendments to the SNAP program.
Oh yeah,
here in Wisconsin, a lot of people were kind of confused at that. Can you explain exactly what that was?
So we needed to get additional dollars into the SNAP program so that we could check benefits, and the Republican-led legislature did not want to allocate those funds to be able to do that. So he had to come up with a compromise of what we would do within Wisconsin. So to be able to get the money, so that otherwise we were going to lose federal money, and people were going to have their SNAP benefits cut again. Yeah. And so his compromise is to have some restrictions on what types of food that you could purchase with your SNAP benefits. So things like, soda, candy, cakes, those types of things, those were restricted within that compromise to make sure we can get the funding so people wouldn't lose their benefits.
And that was the only compromise he made, basically, to get the funding. A lot of people were kind of confused at that, or and really upset. And I'm just scrolling online and seeing, and like, okay, people are not understanding that you have to give and take.
And that is what's going to have to happen. I mean, I'm excited about having a trifecta in 2026. We've got an enormous opportunity there. Honestly.
Yes.
2 seats in the Senate. The maps look great.
Yes.
5 in the Assembly. 4 of those were within a percentage point when Trump was on the ballot. We've got a 5% swing, and we saw more this last election cycle. We have a trifecta that we haven't seen in almost 20 years, which is just an enormous opportunity for us to be able to get an agenda across the finish line. But we are a swing state, right? So nothing is guaranteed.
We definitely are.
Nothing is guaranteed. So we still may have split government, and you're going to need, you have to be able to compromise on those things and try to get something across the finish line that we know Wisconsinites want.
Thank you for explaining that. Because just a lot of people is just ignorant to the fact of what that meant or what went into it, why it had to be done. Do you feel as governor that you can work with this current legislature?
It's going to be all new people, though. I mean, their leadership has both left.
Well,
so
right. Because Robin Boss
left, Robin Boss is leaving, Devin Lemahue's leaving, so the leadership is leaving. I think they're seeing the same polls I'm seeing.
Yeah, I was going to ask, why do you think that is right now in this time? Do they see the writing on the wall?
I think they see the writing on the wall. I don't think that they want to be in the minority in the Assembly and the Senate. They've been in the majority so long. And I think they're seeing that this is likely going to be a pretty big blue wave this coming cycle, and they don't want to be in the minority. They don't want that level of of trying to kind of figure out how they fit into the system.
After mucking it all up for as long as I can remember.
Well, I do think, like, living in Waukesha County, sometimes my neighbors will knock on my door and tell me how wrong I am. That's okay. That's
well,
right. I signed up for it.
Right.
But I'm constantly having those conversations, right, with people who don't agree with me everywhere I go, because that's my community, right? It is a red community. They know who I am. And so they're going to come up and talk to me about stuff on a regular basis. And we don't always agree. But because I've been able to use that muscle for the past, for my entire, life I've lived in that community, besides when I went to college and came back, I think I'm well suited to be able to have those types of conversations. So at least let's start and agree on the problem. And then we may disagree on the solution to that problem. But at least let's start from a place where we know what Wisconsinites want.
Right.
It sounds like you have a really good grasp on that, Like you said, you won't be governor for just one city. You're governor for 72 counties. And that's
72 counties in 8 years.
Yeah. There he goes again.
There confident.
Hey, there's nothing.
If I was lieutenant governor, I'd be confident too.
Right. I got to give it to you. You got to have that. You got to have it. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. So let's go not all the way national, but sort of. Because I'm seeing this, and this is just retarded to me. I don't know why it's being done.
Are we able to use that term now? Or
well, yeah, I'm not calling anyone retarded.
Okay.
I mean, why?
Touche.
I can. It's our president, if that's what we want to call him. I think he's
I will say
mental patient. But
I'm a nurse by background, and in my clinical opinion, the cheese has slid off the crack.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm just
Definitely. Or I'm gonna go real southern. He doesn't know what side of bread his butter is on. Yeah, that's old Mississippi saying that. But so I'm staying attuned to the news, and I'm seeing that for whatever reason, this Justice Department, federal Justice Department, is now trying to relitigate the 2020 election.
It's just ridiculous.
I'm like, what is going on here? So I know it's going to come. He's going to target Wisconsin because he literally name dropped Milwaukee before. So I know it's coming. If you're elected governor and this finally hits, what is your plan to keep this craziness from coming here and trying to pull our voter logs and go into our county municipal offices and pull all this stuff? What is your plan for that?
Yeah, no.
What would be your plan?
That's a hard pass. No, like we are not going to give voter logs. We are not doing those things. And I would really like, and if he thinks he's going to send federal agents to intimidate voters, I would like them to think really long and hard about that, because as governor, I will hold them accountable. Like, it is already a crime. But, election interference is already a crime in the state of Wisconsin, and they cannot be pardoned for state crimes. So as governor, I will hold them accountable for what they're doing. So those are the kind of things we need to have proactive stances on. I mean,
because it's coming. It's coming. It's coming.
And those conversations are happening, across the state about if they do this, then this is what we do. And we've signed on to so many different lawsuits across the state with Josh Call as the Attorney General to push back against the Trump administration. I would continue that what Governor Evers and Josh Call has done, because we need somebody who's going to fight, who's going to be that wall between Wisconsinites and the chaos of the federal government, which is what's happening.
So there's a plan. So basically, you're saying there's a plan in place as to when this happens.
Yeah, these are the kind of things we can do. Yeah.
Okay.
So let me add to that. So I think Governor Evers has been brilliant in his approach to that. He has kind of been, don't upset the cookie cart, right? Or am I saying that right? And he's so he's kind of been there, but he's not. I'm not gonna poke the bear, right?
Yeah.
So not to say you're gonna poke the bear, but how do you, in contrast to that, when you say we need a fighter, we don't want somebody to take it to the president, is it more of a defensive posture, which is what I think the governor is doing right now, or is it a more proactive? Let's set the line in the sand here and dare you to cross it.
It's like a Governor Newsom-esque.
Yeah. Yes, I would probably be more proactive than the governor is right now. And I'll give you an example. So I was one of the first primary candidates who came out to say we needed to have proactive legislation about what happens with federal agents in the state of Wisconsin. They needed to be unmasked, clearly identifiable, wearing body cams. They couldn't indiscriminately pick people up based on their skin color or the language that they speak. Couldn't go into churches, schools, healthcare systems, all of these sort of sensitive spaces where people need to access resources, and they needed a judicial warrant. And Governor Evers, he very publicly disagreed with me on that. And I understand where he's coming from. That's what his strategy is like, if we don't stick our head up, then maybe
he might leave us alone. Yeah.
And for me, I just think people have tried to appease Donald Trump, and he's unappeasable. So let's proactively protect Wisconsinites. I can't pick every fight, right? Because all he does is throw stuff at the wall. I want to say a different word.
Well, you can say it. It's nothing is censored here. I don't know if you watched our show before.
She looked over there.
There is nothing censored. So if you want to drop some bombs,
I do the same.
Please go right ahead, LG.
But I think we do need to take some stances. I think we need to be proactive, and then other times I think it's the better decision to kind of lay low at the time and figure out how we can work with the federal government when they're aligned with our values. But the next governor is going to have a challenge, and I do feel like I'm up for that, and I'm not afraid of him. I'm not afraid of Donald Trump, and I think
to hear that.
We should be proactive. We should not let him bully Wisconsin with whatever he's trying to do, and make sure people know all across the state when your farmers can't sell your crops, why? That is Donald Trump and Tom Tiffany. They are making decisions about different markets out in all those tariffs out in the international world. And that's why you cannot sell your crops. So when you're thinking about who you want to lead this state, do you want it to be somebody who's in line with Donald Trump and his tariff policy and his war in Iran? Or do you want somebody who's actually going to work with you as a small business owner that you are, which our farmers are, and find new markets for your products? Because you're not going to get any help from the federal government. We've seen that.
Okay. That's, I mean, I love the fact you said that, because we do need more fighters. Because it just seems like, that's just from people from the outside looking in. It's like, oh, the Democrats aren't fighting enough.
Yeah.
We're not fighting hard enough. We need to be.
Right.
You know, I mean, there's only so much we can do. We're not in the majority.
Right.
And people don't realize that, or have an understanding of that. And I just love the fact that you came out and just said that, no, we're not going to be going for this bully tactics, all this, because we need some fighters, because it's gonna come here.
It is.
It will. And it's just a matter of time.
Yeah.
It's just
it
a
is
matter
just
of
a
time.
matter of time.
It's just a matter of time.
Yeah.
And that's just so crazy to me that you lost. You won again, and then you're going to go back and try to relitigate the time that you lost. Like this,
makes no sense.
So this is what we're spending our time doing.
It's nonsensical, and it's a waste of taxpayer dollars, right? It's a waste of taxpayer dollars, and it doesn't make any sense. And he has done lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit, and he's lost like almost every single one. And so this is him grasping at straws, because as everybody can see, his popularity rating is just in the toilet. It is in the toilet.
And he does himself no favors by his antics that he's been doing lately with the dressing up as Jesus and all that kind of craziness.
Like who does? Like, who does that? I would have never thought in a million years that was going to happen.
I would never have guessed that. I'm like, you're fighting, you know who you're fighting, because then you're trying to
double down on it too.
Kind of school him, talking about he needs to learn theology. The Pope?
The Pope, he needs to be really careful about theology.
Oh, okay. All right. And you guys are quoting lines from Pulp Fiction. Okay, that's right. That's what we're gonna do. Like, okay, that's not something I want to go up against. But okay, y'all have at it. And we have 3 more years of this craziness. So oh boy.
I mean, it's not just, they're pulling prices up for everybody with all of their just ridiculous decisions that they're making, but they're also profiting off of the government.
Right?
Oh, yes,
they
absolutely.
Grifting and taking, they have made billions of dollars into their own personal pocket. And
just raiding the treasury like it's nothing.
That's not harm free. That's your retirement fund. That's the the 401k. That's the
stock market manipulation.
That's, I've got
those pensions.
People's pensions. That it is not harm free when they grift and they take all of this money and put it into their own personal pockets. I mean, he is suing himself for $10 billion. And he gets to decide whether he gets the $10 billion. So what do you think he's going to decide?
He's going to write himself.
He's going to write himself a check from our money. This is our money. This is our money. And by the way, Wisconsin is a net giver of taxes to the federal government. So we give the federal government more tax money than we get back.
Don't most blue states, even though we're technically not a blue state, but most blue states give,
give more to the federal government than we get back in service.
But you said we're one of the top states that gives to?
Not top.
Okay.
That's California.
Okay. Well,
But we are a net giver.
Okay, net giver
of tax dollars to the federal government. So when we're talking about him taking our tax dollars, it's even worse for us because we actually are giving more away than we get back.
What is your take on ICE and these ICE raids and things like that? What's your take? I know you said earlier about your husband being of Mexican descent.
He is. He's an immigrant from Mexico. He's a naturalized citizen. I will tell you. I mean, they're not enforcing immigration, right? They're not doing. They are just terrorizing communities.
Correct.
That's what they're doing.
Right.
And it is. And Tom Tiffany has basically said he would welcome federal agents to come into the state, that he thinks nothing wrong happened in Minneapolis. So that's what you're looking at right now. And I will tell you, when Donald Trump won for the second time, I told my husband to keep his passport card in his wallet. And I'm the lieutenant governor of the state of Wisconsin. I have one of the biggest microphones in the entire state, and I was worried. I cannot imagine how scared families are. So, and I have done.
Well, you can't imagine. You are in a position.
You are in that.
But even that, like if something happens to him, like that's something that will be huge news, right? Other families are just trying to figure out where their family members are. They can't even.
And still don't know.
They still don't know. By the way, he said no. Let him try. He's like, absolutely not. I'm not. I use it. I refuse to live that way. It's like, I just refuse to do it. And I've done these listening sessions across the state, and there was a gentleman of Indian descent, and he pulls his passport out of his suit pocket. He says, why do I have to keep this? And I was like, you shouldn't have to. And I'm sorry. And that's not the America that I want to live in, or the Wisconsin I want to live in. And then I went to a totally different part of the state. And there was a couple who were Puerto Rican. When I told that story, pulled out their passports.
Oh, wow.
Puerto Rican.
Yeah. American, in other words.
They're all American. They're all American, right? Yeah. And I was just horrified. And consistently, when I tell that story, oftentimes there is one person in that room that will pull it out. Yeah. Will pull their passport out. And that's just wrong. It's wrong. And, this show me your papers kind of BS is just, it's not American. It's not part of our values. It's not Wisconsin values. And it's simply wrong. And we need to hold them accountable. We need to hold the federal government accountable. We need to hold those agents accountable.
And what's also, and since we're on this ethnic wave here we got going, what's your take on this administration? And I'm talking about the federal administration, trying to do away with Black history in our schools and just around the country. It's just like you're trying to erase the history of African Americans in this country. What's your take on that?
I look, there's a reason why we have Black History Month. There's a reason why, I just turned 50 last year. And when I was going through high school, we didn't really get a lot of Black history. We didn't get a lot of Asian history. We didn't get a lot of anything but basically white history. That was what I was taught, in the early 90s or, in the 80s. So there's a reason why we have Black History Month. It's because so many of these stories have not been told. And they're enmeshed in the fabric of our society. But unless we lift those voices up, we're not going to be able to hear about some of the amazing inventors that we have, the scholars that we have, the politicians that we have. And it is important to continue to talk about these things. Black history is American history. Asian history is American history. They're also trying to erase women. Yeah. It's just if it's not, it's just that is so frustrating to me because we do not have equal outcomes, right? So I'll speak to it as a clinician. We have one of the biggest disparities in Wisconsin for Black women specifically on maternal morbidity and mortality and infant morbidity and mortality. Biggest disparity one of the biggest disparities in the country. And it goes across all socioeconomic classes. You can be a billionaire, and if you are a Black woman, you are more likely to be sick or die than a white woman in your same economic class. Yep. And so that is a structural problem within our healthcare system of listening to Black women. And I say this all the time. The example of I guess was Serena Williams. She almost died. Say that. Yeah. She's like a billionaire. She's like at least a multimillionaire, and she's famous. And you would think, and she knew something was wrong, and she had to I think even her husband had to advocate for her, and it was, she almost died after she had her baby. And this shows to me that this is a structural problem in healthcare. And my biggest thing is that we can teach and teach and teach and teach and teach, right? We can teach about racial disparities. We can do all of these things. The number one intervention that we can do to address health disparities is to make sure our healthcare providers look like the people who they serve. That is the number one intervention. And when we look at nursing, when we look at physicians, when we look at other folks, Black and brown people are not as representative in the percentage of the population that we have. And so that is a goal of mine, is to make sure that when we're looking at particularly these professions that have such an impact on healthcare and in a person's actual existence, that we push this out there to make sure that we are advocating for more people of color to go into nursing school, to become physicians, to become therapists, to do all of the things that we need folks to do.
So given that, then, as the next governor for 8 years, we have this anti-DEI referendum coming down the pipeline. So just what are your thoughts, and then how do you address that? Should it get passed or should it not get passed? I don't know, but how do you protect Wisconsin from that kind of punitive measure that's gonna not make us as diverse as you say we should be?
So, I really honestly, because they've co-opted that DEI, I almost don't ever use that language, because it's become almost nonsensical to people. It's like CRT, DEI, like people they don't really understand what it means. And so I talk about the impact, which is what we want to make sure is that that we are accessing our talent pools all across the state, and that we make sure that we are lifting up individuals who have not always had access to resources, and that is usually our Black and Brown communities. But also we have to make sure that every space we have, people feel comfortable and they feel like they can bring their whole self to that space. And that includes veterans. That includes people from rural spaces. That includes everybody. And so how do we make sure that when we're creating that environment, that we address what have been traditional inequities, and there have been racial inequities, that just is racism exists. I'm sorry, it does. It just does. I mean, we are not past this.
Yeah, the fact that you have to say that is
the fact that you do have to say it.
Because people are saying, well, it's not a real
it's
thing.
not. We already, we
what?
had a Black president, so therefore racism no longer exists. That's not true. We know
poor
that
Mitch McConnell, that's what he says.
Yeah, I know. It's so frustrating.
Bless Mitch McConnell.
But we do know that if we look at small businesses, we do know that Black and Brown small business owners have less access to capital. They have more difficulty getting loans. They're oftentimes given regardless, even if you have the same sort of economic status and that you're that often Black and Brown communities are given a higher rate on car loans, even if you have the same credit score. Like these things happen and they are documented, and so we have a lot of work to do to be able to get to a place where we no longer have to have some of these programs in place, because we've gotten to a place where these structural inequities are no longer there.
Anyway, as we come into a close, now this has been great.
Yeah, it's been a great interview.
Thank you for having me. This has been fun.
This been smooth sailing. See, we didn't.
She's a pro at this.
We didn't get you any gotcha questions. We didn't make you say anything that you're gonna regret tomorrow. Like, oh my God, I can't believe I said that on that show. Oh,
that's okay. They'll tell me later if I say that.
Gotcha. So we thank you for the campaign for allowing your time this evening. Us. Any closing?
Well, I wanted we have a loaded slate here. So if you could just give us your 30-second, 1 minute pitch to our viewers to say why you talked about what sets you different, but give us going out why we should vote for the Lieutenant Governor, Miss Sara Rodriguez, for the next governor.
So I would say I'm a proven winner statewide. I'm a proven winner in difficult races, and we cannot do all the things we want to do unless we win in November. And I'm going to be laser focused on addressing the economic issues within Wisconsin. I'm going to put my head down and I'm going to get shit done. And so that is why I want to be governor. I want to have a pragmatic approach and make sure that we are putting policies together that serve everyday Wisconsinites.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's great.
Hey, that's great. So, hey guys, we got the upcoming election, which is the primary is in August.
August 11th.
I ask for your vote.
Yes,
and your support.
Yes, Lieutenant Governor will be on that slate. So everyone, and again, the reason why we're doing this just so folks can become aware of the candidates, so everyone can kind of be knowledgeable when they vote.
You want to give them your website and information if they want to reach out to you?
It is SaraForWI.com. If you Google Sara Rodriguez in Wisconsin, it'll probably be the first thing that pops up. It has a lot of my plans and policies on there. You can learn a little bit more about me and my background. And, we are going all over the state. We're going to all 72 counties. We're almost done for this primary. And we're just going to continue to talking about the kind of things we want to do to better Wisconsinites' lives.
Awesome. Sounds like a great plan to me.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, hey, everyone, thank you for tuning in tonight. Next week, again, we have another gubernatorial candidate coming in. I'm not going to spoil it, but we do have another candidate coming in, and another one has confirmed
today.
Yeah, so we're getting them.
I think that's
rolling through.
Is that all of them?
We got 5 out of the 7.
Yeah.
Okay.
4 have now been in this.
Yeah.
3 have been in the show. 4 next week. 5. So then 2 on the Democratic side. 1 has not even responded. I'm not going to call you out on this show. Okay, Missy, get back to me.
Oh, okay, there we go. Yep, call him out. Call him out.
Get on the show, Missy. No, but we want to have everybody here give their perspectives. Tell us why. You guys we're running for office. So we had a conversation here a couple weeks ago about it's incumbent on the candidates to make sure that we're providing outreach to the constituency and giving them a reason to vote for us. And this is a constituency that needs to be talked to because they're clamoring for information, or we wouldn't be here and we wouldn't be getting the response that we're getting. So it's incumbent on us to make sure that we are inviting all the candidates here. And then it's incumbent on the candidates to bring your asses here to talk about the issues that you want us to vote for you for. So Missy, I'm gonna respond, or I'm gonna email you one more time. Email your team. We'll hope to get you on. But
we don't bite over here.
Yeah, we don't bite. So thank you.
Well, one of us does. She's not sitting with us right now. So one of us does bite. She's the producer, and she'll tend to come on the couch and sit with us and ask those biting questions. But it's nothing that you shouldn't be used to. So I'm not used to, I should say. So come on, you're a public elected official. So
Yes.
But again, thank you all for tuning in. Keep tuning in. Remember, go make sure that you're registered to vote, y'all. There's no excuse. As we see, when we vote, we win, as Vice President Harris said. And that's so true. When we vote, we do win. We just have to make sure that we use that power of that ballot box. And now, as LG said, it's more important now because we can flip this legislator and get it to where it needs to go. President Obama said it perfectly. The Republicans love to take the car and drive it to the ditch and then mess it all up and then say, oh, okay, well, you guys need to fix it, and then ask for the keys back to the ditch. The car that you just drove in there. So it's plain to see where we stand and why we stand for the things that we stand for.
Right.
So just make sure you guys just go ahead and we're using our voice, we're using that ballot box to make some real change in this thing. We can do it. We just have to use that power. So again, thank you, LG, and thank you to what's your campaign manager again? Kara, thank you. We're going to email you back again and get you guys on, of course, before August. So again, it's like a refresher, most likely. So you'll be seeing my email again. But again, thank you for letting her come on, and thank you again for giving us your time. You all be blessed, stay safe, and we'll see you next week.
Hi, Mom.
Time of reading.